Hello, my name's Niranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 71, and I'll be talking to Gavin Sikora, an advocate for resilience and change, having lived in a war-torn country, escaping religious persecution growing up, post-immigration to Australia, and with 10 plus years in the corporate world, working for tech giants like IBM and Oracle. Gavin was made redundant overnight, catapulting his spiritual entrepreneurial journey. Today, Gavin lives his mission, empowering entrepreneurs to work smarter, not harder, using a combination of intuition coupled with the right systems and skills. Gavin is a regular guest speaker, author, and hosts his own podcast show. He has been featured on Sky Business News, Huffington Post, Success Magazine, including leading newspapers and radio stations. Hello and welcome to Gavin. How are you, Gavin?
Oh, very well. Thanks, Niranjan. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I am excited to get into some interesting conversation with you, especially around breaking free from corporate. As we know, with what's happened over the last couple of years, the element of the pandemic has pushed, forced, or nudged individuals to become an entrepreneur or have a side hustle. Don't really like that term, but anyways, we're going to go with it, to build something outside of this 9-to-5 or that relying on somebody else. Can you share a little bit about what got you into that space?
Yeah, look, I should go back a little while. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur in my early days. In fact, I didn't even know what that was, right? And so if you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki,
Yes.
He talks about going down the traditional path, and that's what I did. You know, I went to school, got good grades, went to university, got a degree, got into a good corporate job, and I was there for, not in that particular job, but in that environment for at least 11, just under 12 years. And so I really went down this corporate path and went through the management ranks, and it was great. It was fantastic. I loved it. I loved meeting new people. I traveled all around the world with my jobs, and it was fantastic. But I got to a point, let's say, around year 9, year 10, so like towards the end of my corporate career, and I started questioning, what was the purpose in what I was doing? What was I making a difference to other people's lives? Was I fulfilling my life destiny? I didn't even quite understand that, but I was asking these questions, and I couldn't talk to anyone around me about it because no one really understood. And everyone thought, this is a great career you've built. And I even got an MBA, and I got all these letters after my name. But I wasn't happy. And I felt like I was trapped a little bit. And I don't know if, some of your audience might resonate with this, but sometimes a good thing only lasts for so long, and then you want more, or you yearn for more. And so I started, reading books and going to seminars, and this is pre-pandemic, of course. And I did Tony Robbins' program, Walked on Fire, did all these amazing things. And through personal development, I started finding out what drove me as an individual. And then I thought, I need to break this cycle and try things outside of my job, just to find out who I am. So for me, it was more a quest to find out who I was and what else could I be doing. As it turned out, I started a part-time business in the last couple of years of my full-time job. And then I got made redundant during the global financial crisis, which kind of dates me a little bit, but this was 2007. And so, when I lost my job, basically, I was made redundant. I was the still in the top 1% in my company. And they said, Gavin, we'd like to retain you and keep you in the company, but we're going to shift you here. We're going to drop your pay, but at least you have a job, right? And I thought to myself, Niranjan, and I said, you know what? I don't really want to do this anymore. Like this is the sign from the universe. I've got to make my move. And so I decided to go into business full time, and I haven't looked back really, but it's been an up and down journey. But that's how I got started. So I was almost I did it out of necessity. Well, first I did it out of want, and then it became, you know what? The other side is just no good anymore. I need to pursue this new chapter in my life.
Right. That's quite a story. And that's quite a journey of having your own epiphany, having your own of what works for you.
Yeah, totally. When I look at what's happening like with people today, especially in the last couple of years with the pandemic, just to make it more current, a lot of people are having that epiphany or have had that epiphany in the last couple of years. I literally have talked to hundreds of people in the last 24 months. And whereas once upon a time, people thought it was risky to leave your job or risky to stay in one area, now it's almost risky to stay in one area or have all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And because that job can get pulled under your feet anytime, and it's happened. And I know people where it's happened. You look at pilots that have worked in the airline industry, and they built a beautiful career as in the aviation industry or in hospitality or retail, and suddenly all those industries got decimated. And a lot of people I know personally who had jobs, for example, even though in businesses like gyms, and suddenly you've gone from this income to nothing,
right?
And it becomes really, really tricky. So I've always encouraged people to have a plan B, have something on the side that you're kind of nurturing, building, using your skills and using your talent. And you never know where that can take you, and you never know when it might come in handy. So that's what I do. I help people start, their journey on the side without risking their job. Mm-hmm. And should it take off, and should it become something you really want to nurture and build and maybe transition towards over time, go for it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. In your own journey and your own growth and development, what were some of the attributes that aligned you to do what you do, if I can say that is potentially your purpose?
Mm-hmm. So look, when I first got started in business, I've been in 5 different businesses that I either started or co-founded. And to be honest, I was searching for what that answer was. I didn't really know, right? Mm-hmm. So when people say, oh, what's your purpose and what's your why? And, what are you meant to be doing? I didn't know. All I knew is I wanted to do something that made me happy, made me fulfilled, where I could help other people or at least help make a difference in their life. Because I'm the kind of person, Niranjan, if I can improve the quality of someone's life or livelihood, it gives me immense satisfaction. But I couldn't word it like that back then. I was a bit, naive in my entrepreneurial journey. And so I had to use certain skills that I had, things like sales and marketing. And, these are the areas I was professionally good at. And so I thought, well, what can I do to help people using those skills? So I got into, a lot of, giving advice on business strategy and, helping small businesses with implementing things. I help people when they were starting their own business, giving them business advice. I became an accidental business coach. And I didn't even mean to do it because, back then, business coaching or mentoring wasn't even a fashionable thing. It was for the elite, and you would get a consultant to come in and they would charge you a ridiculous amount of money to help you. And, small businesses out there couldn't afford these people. So suddenly I was helping these small businesses in my local area. And I thought, this is fantastic. Maybe I could turn this into a business. Yeah. But I didn't know how to do it. And so I made a lot of mistakes, and, I won't go into all of that, but eventually I got smarter by finding good mentors around me, people who could say, hey, Gavin, maybe you need to do this and take these steps and put these systems in place and have a program and have, people coming through this area and gain these skills. And then they come out this area, they're better off. And so I learned ways to do things better. And that's how I got into, I guess, what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it,
Yeah.
often I find as an entrepreneur, it is very much a journey of tripping here and messing
yeah.
that up and not knowing what's going on here. But that's where all the beautiful lessons and the nuggets of wisdom come out, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you would probably know this yourself. You don't instantly become successful at anything. You've got to, it's repetition like 1,000 times, and I do karate as well. It's one of the things I do. I play tennis. I love my sport, and, I'm still getting better at it. And I never think I will be like, perfect, but it's that want and that quest to get better. And so you turn up to the trainings, you turn up to, all the things you're meant to turn up to, and it's no different to business. So if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, that's great, but you got to start somewhere, and then you got to want to get better, because there's plenty of help and plenty of support out there. Once upon a time, there wasn't a lot of support out there. So it was a lot harder. You had to make very costly mistakes, very vast amounts of time invested in things that may or may not turn out, and the support just wasn't there. Today, look at us. We're on opposite ends of the world. We can communicate. We can share ideas. We live in a fantastic time now, Niranjan, to help ourselves and help other people.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The accessibility to get information and get support, which I think is so much more important, because we can get drowned out by all this information. And not really absorb it, but not even integrate it. So then we just become consumers of everything, but not doers of anything.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, if I might say, we've actually in some ways gone a little bit extreme in that consumerism, because we have so much information in front of us now. It's hard to distill what is good and what is bad and what's right for us. And we tend to look at other people and say, well, I want what he has, or I want what she has. Things like Instagram and all the social media can be great, but it can also be a distraction. And so one of the things I share with people when I talk to them is try and be authentic to you, and try and do things that that resonate with you and your values. So there's some of the things we teach people from day one. So if you want to start a business, put the business aside. Let's work out who you are. Where are you coming from? What do you want to achieve in life? Who do you want to help? Why do you want to do all of this? What would it be like if you couldn't achieve these things? And if you can answer all these questions, and sometimes it takes weeks, months to really get to the heart of this, then you figure out a way, all right, what are the means that I can achieve these goals? And we help you set goals like a vision, long-term, medium-term, short-term. Make sure it's aligned with your values. So you're not just doing things to keep busy, you see? And if you can take these steps, I think you'll find opportunities, ideas will come to you. You'll start seeing things for what they are, and you'll go, you know what, that looked good on paper, but it's not me. This thing can make me a lot of money, but I don't think I'll be happy doing it. Or this thing that I never really looked at, gee, it ticks all the right boxes. Maybe I should spend more time investigating it. So that's what we help people kind of filter these things out in all that noise.
And it is a lot of noise out there and a lot of filtering.
Yes.
What filtering process did you go through in your journey to get to where you are, in terms of the attributes and the skills that you honed and harnessed to become who and what you do today?
Yeah, so you remember I said my corporate career was built around sales and marketing. That's what I did. I was quite senior management in my corporate career, but I could talk at a corporate level. I couldn't talk at a small business or personal level, because I never learned those skills, right? And so when I started my first business, it was a nutritional-based business, because I was interested in my health. My health was actually pretty bad. When I was in corporate, I'd put on a lot of weight. I was eating unhealthy. I was always in airports because I traveled a lot for my work. And I was, my quality of life was not very good. I was working a lot. And so I got into this nutritional-based business, and I loved researching. I loved talking to people about their personal health. And I guess the skills I got from that was asking good questions about people, really finding out, what was important to them, why they wanted to improve their health, all of that. From there, I then moved into a consulting business that I started, which was around sustainability, because I care about the environment. So I was looking at doing things that really mattered to me. And and once again, I would talk to people, why do you want to have a sustainable home? Why do you want your business to be sustainable? What does that mean? What can we do? And again, I was asking people these questions, and the more I went into these really deep and meaningfuls, I started getting very good at understanding what made people, I guess, tick, right? At a personal level. And then, I built a lot of great relationships with business owners just because I was talking to them about their business. They really got to trust me because I wasn't really there talking about how they could make extra money. It was more about how can we improve your business in terms of sustainability or the health of your business or things like that. And they started asking me for advice. That's how I became an accidental business coach. And, I even started a website business and got into app building and all the things that I'd never ever done before, but I taught myself skills because for me, it's if I could add more value to those businesses, well, what else do I need to learn before I can teach it? So I got into solution building and all of that. So that's just how I kind of got to where I am now. It was a journey. I didn't just wake up and said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it always is a journey, right? It always is a journey. Would you define yourself fulfilling your calling in life now?
That's a really great question. I think I'm closer to that. My journey's still going. Hopefully I've got a few years left to keep doing better and better things. So for now, I really love what I do because I get to work with people, help them start something on the side. Maybe they've already started something, but I help them put systems in place, help them get smarter around what they're doing. So it's not working harder, working smarter, and set some goals and timeframes so that they can eventually transition out of where they are to where they want to get to. And everyone's got their own journey, so no one competes with anyone. Some people can do it in 6 months. Some people, it might take them 6 years. But start now, right? And your life can be very different if you take these steps. And so I feel really privileged that I've helped people do this. I see people's lives improving. Some people move states, they move countries as a result. Some people meet their spouses because of their business. That's what happened to me. So back pre-pandemic in 2019, I traveled around Asia for 6 months. I was just because I could, and and my business was going well. And I ended up meeting my wife now. She was traveling in Singapore. So was I. I was attending a friend's wedding, and we bumped into each other completely randomly. And I really feel like we were meant to meet. Now, fast forwarded to today. So 3 years later, we had a COVID wedding. We did all these things where a lot of people found it challenging during these times to, get out of the house, or, I'm going to postpone my wedding. I'm going to wait for everything to be perfect. We didn't wait. We just said, this is, we're just going to do it as best as we can. And so it's living life in the current moment, but it's also planning for your future. And if I hadn't started my business, I wouldn't have been able to travel for 6 months. And it was in the 6th month that I met my wife. And so I feel like had I had a regular job, I would have maybe done 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and I wouldn't have met her. It would have been a sliding doors thing. We would have missed each other, right? And so it changed my life, but I didn't start my business to change my life this way, but it did. And so I always share these kind of stories because you never know where your life could be 5 years from now. But if you take the steps today, hey, it opens up doors.
Absolutely. Yeah. One step at a time, or one moment at a time, being uncomfortable, right? And being pushed a little bit out of that comfort zone.
Totally. And, business is not easy, or being an entrepreneur is not easy. I still have people ask me today, Gavin, what is an entrepreneur? And an entrepreneur is not someone who buys and sells businesses. Not in my opinion. I believe an entrepreneur, Niranjan, is someone who wants to live life by design. So, it's not by default. So you don't go into the same boat as everyone else. You don't just follow the sheep or follow the herd. I don't like that terminology, actually, but it's what I mean.
I do.
It's not just doing the norm. It's kind of setting your own goals and things that make you happy and in alignment with your values. So if you see something around you that you're not comfortable with, speak up or do something different, right? You got this one life on this planet, at least in this lifetime. Try and make it the best life you can. And so, that's what I tell people, and I try to live it out myself as well.
Absolutely. What is your intentions, other than what you've shared for others, but what's your intentions with the skills and the attributes and the craft that you've polished so sharply for yourself and created for what you want to do with your life?
Look, I love doing lots of different things. I love exploring. I love learning, constantly learning. So for me, learning through developing new skills, maybe traveling, meeting new people, taking on new projects, all kinds of things keep me interested in life. So for me, I have varied interests. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be one of those people that, retires, because I can't just sit down and go, well, that's it, I'm done. Because I think as long as I'm alive, I'll constantly be attempting to do new things, learn new things. I think if you can keep your mind sharp, your body will respond. And therefore, you will live a longer, happier life. I think the minute you switch off over here, the rest of your body starts to decline. And I've seen it. I've seen it with at least one of my parents, with both my parents. One's super active and goes to the gym and meets people and talks and is always organizing things, is the life of a party. The other one is almost on the decline, and it's sad because sometimes you can just have very different personalities, but a lot of it is up here. A lot of it is up here. And if you believe you can do something, you can do it. Absolutely. The minute you give up, the rest of your body gives up as well. And you don't want to really get to that point.
Yeah, it's a downward spiral from there onwards, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What do you believe about yourself, and does it define who you are?
Look, I'm trying to get better at defining like what makes me tick. But again, I genuinely love living an authentic life. So everything I say are things that I do, and so and when I make commitments with people, I honor them. If I can't do something, I'll say, listen, Niranjan, this is not my area, but let me point you in the right direction. So I try and stick with those kind of values. But in terms of who I am, hopefully the people around me, my network, my family, my friends, will all say the same thing consistently. So it's I'm not a different person to different people. So I try and remain congruent. And I'm still evolving. I'm a human being, so therefore I will continue to evolve. And they say things like when you get to your 30s, you are a certain type of person. When you're in your 40s, you're in a different stage of life, and then your 50s and 60s. So, I look forward to getting to these stages and then, finding out a new part of me, or maybe developing into a new part of me. So these are things I think about and I work on. And, I have friends of different ages, so I don't just hang around like, my age group. I love talking to the younger group. I used to be the youngest, always in a class or in a meeting or whatever. Now I'm sort of like in the middle, but I love talking to people who are 10, 20, 30 years older as well.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of wisdom in people as they age. And so if you can learn from people, if you can learn just by having conversations, you'll find that, there's a lot to look forward to in life. And so, and you can set goals for these things. And I love setting goals. So I live to achieve things, because otherwise you're just living which is not a bad thing, but if there's no purpose to your life, you will stop trying.
So what's next for you? You've built this beautiful organization that supports individuals on all parts of their journey of what they want to build, where they want to go, their life, essentially harnessing and really leaning into the possibilities of who they can truly be. So that's for them. But what's next in terms of your business and where you want to grow, but also be in a position to lead others and support and guide others to their more enhanced or growth self?
Look, Niranjan, for me, I'm not an empire builder. So I can teach people how to do things like that because, there are certain steps that you take. But for me, I'm happy where my business is at. I've got a great team. I look to get more involved in the community that I live in, but also, I love traveling. So I love exploring new things and learning new things. So for me and my wife, it's about now lifestyle decisions. And we simply want to live a good quality of life. I'm not necessarily looking at 10 times my business and growing offices all around the world it's never been a thing for me. I wanted to get out of corporate. So in the last thing I would want to do is create a little corporate organization. I believe everyone should have those freedoms. So in our team, people work from home. They do what they want, in the times that they can, and we support our clients. And I'm happy with that. For me, that's great. I'll keep up my sport. I love to travel. Now that restrictions have kind of eased off, we're going to get into a lot more travel where we're just going to do more things in the community. I guess for us, it's a quality of life. And that's why I built the business, to help with that quality of life. Now that we're starting to live that life, I'm not going to put 10 times more energy into the business because it would actually detract from the original mission, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And also to emphasize the newlywed component, even though it's been a couple of years, but still wanted to be able to enjoy that and relish those moments that you guys built together too.
So true. So true. I know people who they get into business and it's exciting. It's very consuming and you can spend a lot of time on it. And whether you become successful or not, it doesn't matter, but it's why are you doing it? And if you find you're spending 90% of your time focusing on the business at the expense of other areas of your life, then you need to question that. And there's a guy called Dr. John Demartini who was in The Secret. Maybe you've heard of The Secret or read it or watched it. And I've met him a few times and I've spoken to him and I've listened to him in seminars, when he's spoken and even when we've spoken privately. And he talks about the 7 areas of your life. Now, there may be more, but he defined, 7 areas, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but things like relationships or things like your financial status or your business or your career and your health and all of those things. And so every single one of them needs your time and attention. And the business can be very exciting. It's a shiny new ball and you want to spend all your time on it, but it shouldn't come at the expense of the people around you or your health or, things like that. And you need to know when to switch off. And you also need to know that once you've hit certain goals, do you want to keep going or have those goals now enabled you to either make that transition or live a better quality of life?
Right.
And that's, I try to remember that every time I'm making decisions in my business because I don't want to veer off the path because you're the CEO of your business, but you're also the CEO of your life.
That's right. And ultimately, keeping a balance is the hard part. And regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee working for a corporation, because you said it yourself, working the crazy hours in corporate, I did it. I know I was in corporate too, and it was nuts. And I'm an entrepreneur, and it's pretty nuts too. So it's ultimately keeping it in balance of what does this life look like, right?
That's right. And, like I said, there's lots of help and support out there. So if you find you're kind of drowning a little bit with trying to do too many things, or you're trying to figure out what is the right things to do and when to do it, or how to get better results and all that, talk to people who've done it before. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Now, there's lots of information. You can jump on YouTube and figure a lot of stuff out, but is that the best use of your time?
Right.
You see, because maybe initially it is, but after a certain point, try to find a network of people, of like-minded people that might be doing different things, but where you can all share and collaborate and you can tap into each other's mindset. You can tap into people's skills and say, hey, Narajan, how did you do this? And maybe I'll try that out. And you might ask me a question and we start sharing. I think it's really important to get a good mentor or a good coach. And some people ask me, they say, oh, but I've never thought about it. Well, what I say to them is, think of it this way. If you want to get good at a sport, someone's got to teach you. If you want to learn how to swim and you've never learned how to swim, you need to get swimming instructions, right? When you first start your corporate career and you're this bright-eyed graduate or 19, 20, 21, whatever it might be, you have a manager, you have a team leader, you have someone who's going to now show you the ropes. So why is it any different in business? We forget this. We think, look, I'll do it on my own. I'll see how I go, and then I'll call out for help. I think some people can do it, but very, very few. The majority of us need help and guidance, but we don't know that we can ask, and we don't even know who to ask for help. And because there's so much information around, it's easy to just get stuck in and try to figure it out on our own. The problem is, with too much information, we get bogged down. And we tend to make all the same mistakes. And I see people, they try things, they make mistakes, they fail, and then they'll give up. And, you've probably seen statistics where 80 to 90% of small businesses fail in the first, like 18 months or less. I'm trying one business at a time to reverse that statistic, because why should you fail? There's no reason. Yep.
There isn't. Absolutely. I love that. All these nuggets of wisdom, all this motivation and support that you offer is really encouraging for individuals to really step into and reflect on what is it they want out of it. Granted, yes, we live in a world where there's necessities and there's this thing called money that we need to take care of, but don't forget to reflect and look, what is it that brings you joy? What is it that lights you up from the inside out? Because those are the moments that are going to sustain you through the heavy and the more tumultuous times, be it in the corporate 9 to 5, sitting at the desk waiting for the clock to turn 5, or whatever it looks like. But we've got to have that balance, right?
Oh, definitely. And, sometimes, especially for people that have traveled a bit, and you've traveled a bit, the more people I meet that have less are actually happier. It's a funny concept. Like, the less material things we have, or the less we want to accumulate and build up, the burden is lifted off our shoulders, and suddenly you don't need to work as hard or earn as much or compete with the Joneses and all of that. And so try to keep everything in perspective. And, I encourage people, as long as you're happy and, you're fulfilling your needs, then keep going. But remember, don't try and compete with other people around you, because you'll never truly be happy. There's always someone who has more, earns more, does more, is prettier, more handsome, drives a better car. It's just one of those things. And that's why we even see famous rock stars and Hollywood celebrities and famous sporting celebrities. They get rich and they have everything at their disposal, but then they get into drugs, and then they get into, they commit suicide, because it's not enough. And so you have to realize there is this tipping point for all of us. You just have to realize you never want to cross there. And the sooner you can realize it, the more content you'll be with either what you have or what you can do for yourself.
I 100% agree with that. And I think one of the pieces that I've done for myself, not only for my personal life, but for my professional life too, is have an outsider who can be very critical in giving you a different perspective, in giving you an idea that might have sparked from a conversation that you had actually initiated. So I think it is important to have people outside of you that don't see the world from your eyes, to really give you a different perspective, but also to highlight to you what you might have missed. Because when we're in it and we have a gift, or we have an Achilles heel, we don't often see it ourselves. So have somebody point that out to you, I think, is crucial.
Oh, definitely. I think the more people you can sometimes talk to about different topics and different ideas, you'll get different perspectives back, and that's what helps you, make decisions better. I mean, otherwise you got tunnel vision. If it's just your thoughts, I see people who are building their own business, or they live very siloed lives, like they're stuck behind a computer all day, or they stay indoors all day, and the pandemic did not help with this.
Right.
But the more you can get out there, whether it's physically or even just like we're doing now, talking to someone different, you get a different perspective, and someone might just say, that's interesting, but have you considered this? Or
Yes.
what do you think about that? And you might go, oh, I never actually even thought about that. That's a different way to spin it, or think about it. That's where you grow as a person, and your comfort zone just expands. And the more you can expand your comfort zone, I think ideas and creativity will come in. When that happens, you become inspired, you become motivated. It all becomes a really great cycle. If you don't have that, you start shrinking, and you become...
That's right.
You just become cynical, you become more judgmental, you become more despondent. Things like depression, mental health, like these are all issues that are prevalent in communities right now. And I think we just need to talk to more people, which is a very simple concept, but I think the more you can do that, suddenly you'll realize there are people out there who have more problems than you. There are people who are less fortunate than you. Your life is not as bad as you may think it is, and so therefore, you might not want to have the mansion and the big thing, because it's not really what you wanted to aspire to. You thought you did, but would that really make you happy? And suddenly all those pressures come down, and you think, this is really what I want to achieve. What do I need to do it? And who can help me best to achieve it?
Right. And sometimes keeping, to a certain degree, that narrow vision is needed, because we got to keep life simple.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple. We get roped into all the bells and whistles, like you said. Makes it harder.
It does. It does. So, yeah, I think if you can keep life simple, things tend to work out pretty well. It doesn't mean you can't do a lot of things. You can have, really audacious goals, and that's fantastic. But as long as it sits well with you, it's easy to read that someone, made $50 million selling this internet business at the age of 19. And you'll be like, oh my goodness, I'm turning 30 and I'm a failure. But you're not. That's them. They're living their life, their skills, their gift. Good on them. What can you do? Every single one of us has unique talents and gifts and skills and a purpose. So if you don't know what that is, well, you need someone maybe external to bring it out of you, so maybe talk to other people. Hey, what do you think? Like, what do you like about me? What am I good at? What when you read about me or hear about, like, what comes to your mind? Or, and I guess, other people can give you perspective that maybe you don't have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is brilliant. I love this conversation, Gavin. And I know you dropped so much in there in terms of tangible pieces for individuals to take away with and actually implement in their own life. Be it a small piece of just looking what they're good at, or actually taking the bold step and potentially even contacting you or hiring a coach, or looking at how they can take the next step to truly step into who they are. So thank you so much, Gavin, for your time and energy and shares. Thank you.
That's okay. My pleasure. My pleasure. And good on you for what you're doing as well. I think the fact that you're putting time and energy into your podcast and what you're doing personally as well, I think gives people an opportunity to hear different perspectives and stories. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I'm happy I could contribute.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.